In the shadows of Jerusalem's ancient stones, a story begins to unfold that will challenge everything we thought we knew about prophecy, science, and the intricate tapestry of divine planning. The ground trembles beneath the Western Wall, not from the usual seismic activity that has become increasingly common, but from something far more profound, the weight of history itself being unveiled. Dr. Sarah Cohen never expected to find herself at the center of what could be the most significant archaeological discovery of the century. The renowned seismologist had spent years studying the unprecedented wave of earthquakes that had been rippling across the globe, but nothing in her scientific background had prepared her for what lay hidden beneath Jerusalem's most sacred site. As her team carefully extracted an ancient Hebrew scroll from its millennia-old resting place, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just another archaeological find. Meanwhile, across the city, Ambassador Karim Al-Rashid sat in his office, watching news reports of yet another devastating earthquake, this time in the Pacific Ring of Fire. The seasoned diplomat had witnessed the world's political landscape shift dramatically over the past months, as former enemies forged unlikely alliances and ancient rivalries dissolved in the face of global crisis. His phone buzzed with another urgent message. The peace treaty he'd been negotiating between nations that had been at war for generations was finally ready for signing. In New York, young journalist Maya Thompson stared at her computer screen, trying to make sense of the patterns emerging from her research. The natural disasters she'd been documenting weren't just increasing in frequency, they were following a specific sequence, one that seemed hauntingly familiar to scholars of ancient texts. Her investigation had started as a simple assignment covering environmental changes, but it had led her down a rabbit hole of prophetic writings and astronomical phenomena that defied conventional explanation. As Dr. Cohen's team began the painstaking process of translating the scroll, the first line sent shivers through the academic community. The ancient text spoke of a time when the earth would shake with increasing fury, when the stars themselves would seem to shift in their courses, and when nations would unite in ways never before seen. It described with chilling precision events that matched current headlines with an accuracy that couldn't be dismissed as coincidence. The scroll's message wasn't just about natural disasters, it spoke of a cosmic choreography, a divine timeline hidden in plain sight throughout history. As Sarah worked to decode its contents, she found herself reaching out to Maya Thompson, whose articles on global phenomena had caught her attention. The journalist's research revealed patterns that aligned perfectly with the scroll's predictions, creating a picture that was both fascinating and terrifying. Ambassador Al-Rashid, unaware of the scroll's discovery, was witnessing another aspect of the prophecies unfold in the diplomatic realm. The peace treaty he was brokering wasn't just about ending conflicts, it was establishing a new world order, one that the ancient text had described in detail thousands of years ago. Nations that had been historical enemies were now forming alliances that would have been unthinkable just months before. As the three individuals pursued their separate investigations, the heavens themselves seemed to confirm the scroll's warnings. A series of unusual astronomical events began to occur. Configurations of celestial bodies that matched biblical descriptions of end-time signs. Scientists struggled to explain the sudden appearance of previously unknown celestial phenomena, while religious scholars pored over ancient texts with renewed interest. The scroll spoke of specific signs that would appear in sequence, first the earthquakes, then the political realignments, followed by celestial signs that would be impossible to ignore. Each prediction was accompanied by precise details that corresponded to current events with uncanny accuracy. The text wasn't just predicting these events, it was revealing a divine blueprint that had been set in motion long ago. Maya's research led her to connect with religious scholars who had been studying similar patterns. They shared with her ancient documents from different cultures that all seemed to point to this specific moment in history. The similarities were too precise to be coincidental, and as she dug deeper, she began to understand that she was documenting something far more significant than a series of natural disasters. Dr. Cohen's scientific mindset was being challenged daily as she worked with the scroll. The text contained information about geological processes that wouldn't be discovered by science for thousands of years after it was written. It described tectonic movements and seismic patterns that she had only recently documented in her own research. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just prophecy. It was evidence of divine knowledge of Earth's scientific principles. As Ambassador Al-Rashid finalized the details of the peace treaty, he began to notice strange parallels between the agreement's structure and ancient prophetic texts he had studied in his youth. The treaty wasn't just creating peace, it was establishing a new global framework that matched biblical descriptions of the end times with stunning precision. The realization left him questioning everything he thought he knew about international diplomacy. The paths of these three individuals began to converge as the scroll's predictions continued to unfold. Maya's journalism led her to Jerusalem to interview Dr. Cohen about the scientific implications of the increasing earthquakes. During their meeting, they discovered the connections between the scroll's predictions and the diplomatic developments Ambassador Al-Rashid was overseeing. The scroll's message became clearer as more of it was translated. It wasn't just predicting these events, it was revealing how they all connected to form a larger picture. The earthquakes weren't random natural disasters. They were following a specific pattern that corresponded to the prophesied signs of the end times. The political alliances weren't just diplomatic achievements, they were fulfilling ancient prophecies about the alignment of nations in the last days. As the three collaborated to understand the full implications of their discoveries, more signs began to appear. Astronomical observatories reported unprecedented celestial phenomena that matched biblical descriptions of end-time signs. Political analysts noted that global alliances were forming exactly as ancient prophecies had foretold. Seismologists recorded earthquake patterns that couldn't be explained by conventional geological models. The scroll revealed that these events weren't just coincidentally occurring together, they were part of an intricately designed plan that had been set in motion thousands of years ago. Each event, from the smallest tremor to the largest political shift, was a carefully placed piece in a divine puzzle that was now becoming visible to those who knew where to look. Dr. Cohen's scientific background helped her understand the geological aspects of the prophecies, while Maya's investigative skills unveiled connections that others had missed. Ambassador Al-Rashid's diplomatic experience provided insight into how current political developments fit into the prophetic timeline. Together they began to see how every headline, every treaty, and every natural phenomenon was part of a larger story that had been written long ago. The scroll's messages became increasingly specific as more was translated. It spoke of a time when technology would connect the world in unprecedented ways, when knowledge would increase exponentially, and when the very foundations of society would be shaken. Each prediction was accompanied by details that matched current events with stunning accuracy. As their understanding deepened, they realized that the scroll wasn't just predicting the future, it was revealing God's intricate timeline for humanity. The natural disasters, political alignments, and celestial signs were all carefully orchestrated elements of a divine plan that had been hidden in plain sight throughout history. The prophecies weren't just about predicting events, they were about showing humanity that nothing happens by chance. The impact of their discoveries spread rapidly through academic and religious circles. Scientists who had dismissed biblical prophecies began to take a closer look at the evidence. Religious scholars found new significance in texts they had studied for years. The world started to realize that current events weren't just random occurrences, they were the fulfillment of prophecies written millennia ago. As more predictions from the scroll came to pass, it became clear that humanity was witnessing something unprecedented. The natural disasters weren't just environmental phenomena, they were signs pointing to a larger truth. The political alliances weren't just diplomatic achievements, they were fulfillment of ancient prophecies. The astronomical events weren't just celestial curiosities, they were divine signals written in the stars themselves. The scroll's final passages spoke of hope amidst the chaos, a promise that these events, though challenging, were part of a greater purpose. It revealed that the increasing intensity of natural disasters and political upheavals wasn't random, but rather a carefully choreographed sequence leading to a predetermined conclusion. As Dr. Cohen, Maya, and Ambassador Al-Rashid shared their findings with the world, they realized they had uncovered more than just an ancient text. They had discovered evidence of God's sovereign control over human history. The scroll wasn't just a prediction of the future. It was proof that every event, from the greatest to the smallest, was part of an intricate divine plan that had been set in motion at the beginning of time. Their story became a testament to how science, journalism, and diplomacy could work together to unveil divine truth. The earthquakes continued to shake the earth, Nations continued to align in unexpected ways, and the heavens continued to display unprecedented phenomena. But now, thanks to an ancient scroll hidden beneath Jerusalem's walls, the world had a framework for understanding these events as part of God's magnificent timeline, hidden in plain sight for those with eyes to see and hearts to understand.